My name is Mike Adams, Adams Financial Concepts. I have a question for you. How would you feel if you lost everything you had worked for your entire life? That was the situation that could have been for my client, Frank. And it was all over $20. That's it, $20. Frank was a retired postman. He retired at the age of 65 from the post office. He was single. He had no children. He had a little house. He was kind and would help the helpless and the homeless. A homeless person that came up to him wanted 20 bucks, just 20 bucks, said, "I'll cut your lawn." Frank said, "You said that before. I gave you $20 and you didn't cut my lawn. I'm not going to give you $20. That kid knocked him down, started kicking him, kicked him in the head again and again and again. Frank ended up with brain damage. Frank ended up completely incapacitated with brain damage. To really live like that, he could have had two choices. He could have gone into a family home where he wouldn't have had the real care, or if he had the finances, he could have moved into real brain care facility. In Frank's case, he had the finances to do that. He didn't start with those. In 1987, very soon after I became a stockbroker and financial advisor, Frank opened an account. He had $216,000 and he split it. $108,000 to me, $108,000 to a Merrill Lynch broker. And we each had our plan, we each had our strategy, and we went forward. A few years later, almost 10 years later, Frank called me up and said he wanted to take me to lunch. He said his account had grown from $108,000 to over $1 million. I said, "That's great, Frank." I said, how's the Merrill broker doing? He said his account had grown from $108,000 to $140,000. 108 to 1 million versus 108 to 140. And Frank said he should move the Merrill account to me. I said, "Frank, you should keep it at Merrill. You get to evaluate how I do." It was only a few weeks or a few months after that that Frank refused to give the homeless kid 20 bucks and ended up in an intensive brain care facility. Frank continued because he had those funds, and those funds furnished enough support. Frank lived in an intensive brain care facility for 25 years until he passed away. So the question is, how would you feel if you lost everything? If you're living on a limited amount of funds, that's the possibility. There's two types of people: those who plan for the best and ignore the worst, and those who plan for the worst and hope for the best. Are you someone who plans for the worst scenario, or are you looking at a computer screen or computer program that gives you an estimate of running out of money? And that estimate doesn't include a $20 decision. It doesn't include some of the things that can happen, but you don't have to do that. You can be someone who plans for the worst times, hope for the best. And if you are one of those people, I'm going to put a link somewhere in this video so that you can schedule a time for a free consult with me about your life, about your hopes, about your dreams, about all the things that can go wrong, and how you can plan for the worst, hope for the best, and hopefully you don't have an incident like Frank had, or an incident like a number of other people have had. Those black swans happen. Things that never happened before happen all the time. Just click on the link and take 30 minutes of your time to see how you can plan for the worst and hope for the best. It's Mike Adams, Adams Financial Concepts. I've been doing this for 40 years.